This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to our Standing Watch program. How does the BLM, Black Lives Matter movement, help black people? How do the riots, the protests against racism, help black people? Or do they rather hurt them? And do they contribute to the destruction of the countries where they're operating? I have here an article by Breitbart dated June 12 saying this. Warner Media Chairman Bob Greenblatt defended the decision to remove the American Civil War classic Gone with the Wind in 1939 from HBO Max, describing the decision to do so as a no-brainer. HBO Max, which is owned by Warner Media, announced that they would be blacklisting the film, regarded by audiences and many critics as the greatest film of all times, on the grounds that it depicts some of the ethnic and racial prejudices that have unfortunately been commonplace in American society. Justifying the decision, which was taken as a response to the wave of violent Black Lives Matter protests sweeping America and other parts of the world, an HBO spokesperson argued that such racist depictions were wrong then and are wrong today. The network's decision to remove Gone with the Wind is all the more extraordinary, given the performance of Hattie McDaniel, for which she won Best Supporting Actress Oscar of 1940. In doing so, she became the first black actor or actress to be nominated, let alone win, an Oscar of any category. So I ask, how does this decision help the black community? Now, what about eliminating the Aunt Jemima brand of pancake mix and syrup? Now, Breitbart wrote on June 18, a great-grandson of Aunt Jemima says that his family legacy will be erased now. This is an injustice for me and my family. This is part of my history. The racism they talk about, using images from slavery, comes from the other side, the white people. The article goes on to say that the great-grandson went on to say that it hurts to know that Quaker Foods' answer to current events in America is to erase my great-grandmother's history. Now, Harrington was born on a South Carolina plantation where her family worked as sharecroppers and was later discovered in 1935 by a Quaker Oats representative at the New York State Fair while serving pancakes. Harrington later became a national celebrity, as her likeness was seen on products and ads while she traveled the country and also Canada, serving pancakes dressed as Aunt Jemima. She worked for that Quaker Oats for 20 years, said the great-grandson. She served all those people, and it was after slavery. How do you think I feel as a black man? Sitting here telling you about my family history they are trying to erase. On Wednesday, Quaker Foods announced that it will be eliminating Aunt Jemima in order to, quote, make progress toward racial equality. But the Aunt Jemima brand has been around for at least 130 years. Now, this decision is ridiculous, but I am asking again, how does it help the black community? What we are saying here is a false spirit of supposedly fighting racism. It's overtaking the world. It's not helping anyone at all. Another paradox, if you please, was discussed in the Daily Mail, dated June 18, saying this. The Rugby Football Union are conducting a review into how rugby can end institutional racism. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot was written by a black slave in the American South during the 19th century. The song was first belted out by supporters when two black wingers became sporting heroes on the pitch at the end of the 1980s. And now they're trying to prohibit that song. Now, what about removing monuments? What about removing statues which are somehow associated with racism? Breitbart wrote on June 23, "We now live in a world where a very public Black Lives Matter organizer, Shaun King, can openly call for the destruction of Christian churches. Not only that, they're also talking about doing away with statues of Jesus Christ. Now, we should not have statues of Jesus Christ because Jesus Christ is God and we shouldn't have any statues or images of God. But that's not the point. The point is they want to do away with those statues because they say he is portrayed as a white person and allegedly, according to them, Christ wasn't white, he was brown or black or whatever." Goes on to say, "In this environment, Mount Rushmore cannot survive. All four men carved into the Black Hills of South Dakota Hills have been labeled problematic by the left and the media, and this includes Abraham Lincoln. Already the location of Mount Rushmore is considered problematic because it once was land that belonged to the American Indian. Now, what land didn't? The riots are here to stay," this article goes on to say. "The media and the Democrats who run America's major cities see Antifa and Black Lives Matter as their way to political power. But again, how does it help the black community?" To give you a further synopsis of what is happening right now, there is an extremely ridiculous ignorance of certain protesters when they do away with statues of former President Ulysses S. Grant and lyricist Francis Scott Key because they were topped and toppled last week in Golden Gate Park in California. Now, Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, and Grant led the Union Army to victory against the Confederacy as a general, and he fought for African American voting rights as president. Of course, both men were slave owners. Further, Virginia wants to remove a huge statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. Congressional Democrats launched a new push to remove 11 Confederate statues from the Capitol grounds. Speaker Nancy Pelosi called for a removal by saying the statues donated by states pay homage to hate and not heritage. Statues of Confederate President Jefferson Davis, the Civil War adversary to Abraham Lincoln, both by the way from Kentucky, as well as statues of Christopher Columbus were toppled by demonstrators in recent weeks. A monument of settler John Sutter was removed near the Sacramento hospital. Others want to remove statues of George Washington and in England of Winston Churchill. In Portland, Oregon, protesters tore down the quote-unquote racist statue of Thomas Jefferson. It is clear that the disguise of fighting against racism only leads to the destruction and is motivated by a destructive spirit and a desire to obliterate history. All of this will lead to the destruction of the United States of America from the inside and the outside. It doesn't help black people at all. Rather, the BLM movement and the riots against racism hurt them even more. I want to give you one last example. Esther Krauke, who is a black young lady in the UK, a journalist in her 20s. She wrote an article in the Sunday Mail of June 21. "I first moved to the UK from Ghana with my family in my early teens. I have grown increasingly concerned about the methods and the wider far-left political agenda of the Black Lives Matter movement here in the UK. I have been horrified to watch this ridiculous campaign of tearing down statues and relics of British heritage escalate. It is a campaign that has yet to make any progress in tangibly helping me as a black person. The slogan of this campaign is indisputable. Of course, black matters, or black lives matter. They matter in the same way that everyone's life, by virtue of being human, matters. Every individual, of whatever skin color, should have the right to pursue happiness and live free from prejudice. And where racial discrimination and injustice exists in this country, it should be stamped out. But this organization, talking about BLM, is about much more than black lives. Their webpage explains that it intends to be guided by a commitment to dismantle capitalism. Now, what on earth does defending black lives have to do with dismantling capitalism, a system that has lifted millions of people out of absolute poverty in just this century alone? How would the tearing down of wealth creation benefit black lives? There are also growing questions surrounding this organization's funding. This includes developing and delivering strategies for the abolition of police. If we abolish the police, what do we replace it with? We need to wake up and see that people are trying to divide this country and are using minority groups to do it. First it was statutes. Then it was a potential ban on swing low, sweet chariots. When will this end? This small faction of left-wing activists will never stop trying to tear this country apart and shaming every aspect of British heritage. My parents taught me the value of hard work, honesty, humility, and standing up for the truth. I was taught to judge individuals on the content of their character. Now, these are remarkably true words. Because racism, first of all, is wrong. It's wrong. But that includes everyone. You cannot just fight against bad developments towards one race and just at the same time become a racist towards others. Jesus Christ said, there is no slave nor free. There is no black nor white. I'm kind of summarizing the concept. There is no Greek, no Jew. We are all one in Christ. But the BLM movement isn't helping. Destroying the property of others is in violation of the law of God, the Ten Commandments. It's lawlessness. And if you break God's law, you're not going to be blessed, you are going to be cursed. Jesus Christ taught the Ten Commandments. And you need to know what they contain and how they are meaningful for us today. We have prepared 3 booklets which go into the subject of today's program. The first one, and lawlessness will abound. Yes, what we are seeing right now in the United States of America, in the UK, around the world, has been prophesied. Because what we are seeing right now is a spirit of lawlessness. And secondly, this booklet, the Ten Commandments. This booklet shows you how the Ten Commandments are still valid today and how they affect you and your lives. And then thirdly, Jesus Christ, a great mystery. And this booklet goes into the right, the correct Jesus Christ of the Bible. Most people do not know who Jesus Christ really was, what he taught, how he lived, what he practiced. That he practiced the law of God, that he didn't come to do away with it. So these 3 booklets will help you to understand this very controversial matter much better. And you will understand what is happening right now and why. So please ask for a free copy. And until next time, this is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by The Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.